computer. Hello, everyone. This is Tim Selden, President of the Montessori Foundation. This is our weekly Montessori Town Hall, and we welcome you. We hand it over to, I believe, John Wolf. Are you facilitating today?
Nope.
That would be good, though. I will. Thanks.
Nice try, Tim.
Oh, my goodness. It is Friday afternoon here, isn't it? So nice to see everyone. I'm Kathy Leach, and I'm Executive Director of the IMC, the International Montessori Council. I appreciate everybody coming today, and I have many of my colleagues here on the town hall meeting with us. So I'm hoping that they'll add lots of wisdom to our conversation. We really don't have a formal presentation at our town halls. It's really an open forum, an opportunity to ask questions of those of us who have been working with schools and educators to deliver services during this time and to help navigate these uncharted waters. So let's see, we've got Jonathan Wolf to my right, from Senior Consultant with the Montessori Foundation, Tanya Reiskind, Associate Head of the Newgate School, our lab school, Kitty Bravo, Director of Education for Center for Guided Montessori Studies, our IMC affiliated program. And I see Christine Lowry is also here. Christine, thank you. Also consultant with the Montessori Foundation, offers several courses and is part of our volunteer corps that is working very hard to serve the Montessori community right now. So thanks everybody for being here. I see Bronwyn is here. Bronwyn, you are, let's see, it's about 9 o'clock at night, I think, where you are right now. So I know we're in all different time zones and opportunities. But I'd like to open by saying, you know, every week when we meet, and most of us are in meetings every day, you know, and all kinds of things going on right now with the different task forces and the coronavirus pandemic, and we're hearing a lot from schools, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear questions, comments, things you're doing that you might share with each other. The idea is that as a Montessori community in a town hall, we can come together, we can share, and we can all learn from each other, because we are inventing this as we go. And you know, I'm happy to be around lots of Montessorians who are living up to what I think was Montessori's vision for all of us, to collaborate, to work together, to benefit the education and the lives of children that we serve. So we have been getting, everything has changed since last week, right? Everything has changed. So the PPP loans, the SBA, out of money. Now, that could change again for next week. I'm going to be optimistic and believe that's going to be funded and we're going to be back in business, but we don't know the answers to that. At least I haven't seen the news. I've been in meetings all day, so there may even be more news. But we talked a lot about the getting people's loans in on time and taking care of that. So be very happy to hear from anyone who's had a positive experience with the loans. That's important right now. We also have new to our landscape is a potential plan for reopening certain parts of the country. Schools, some schools are closed for the rest of the school year. Other schools, such as in Florida, are waiting to hear what's next, what's going to happen, what will the governor decide. And so we have a lot to talk about in terms of what would make us, if we're an independent school, not a public school, what would lead us to make the decision to bring children and teachers back on site. So again, I'm happy to open it up. There is a chat feature on this, and so I encourage you to put things in the chat area, and we can have somebody monitoring that. And I'm sure maybe Tanya could help us with that. And Tim, if anyone would like to be added to our email list who isn't already, maybe we can put the link in the chat box today for somebody to sign up, because I know people ask to get added to our mailing list. So we'll make sure by the end of the call that we have that as well. So I'm going to open it up to either any of my colleagues on the panel or any of those who have decided to join our town hall today, and see what kinds of questions or what kind of stories you'd like to share with us today. Well, maybe we would just like to take some time to breathe. You know, how often do we just get to say, take a moment, we'll get to be right here, right now, we can be somewhere else later, and put all the worries aside and put all the what ifs aside for a moment. And just know that in this moment, we are okay. In this moment, everything is as it should be, including our desire for things to be different. Thank you. I don't know about you, but I would say that I have to remind myself to breathe during the day. I know that we're all breathing, but are we really? Are we really breathing during the day? So I appreciate having a moment to do that. Thank you. So any questions or any stories? Anyone have anything that has gone on this week that's important, or anything you'd like for us to talk about or share with you from all of our various meetings and questions and constituency groups? Christine?
I'll add something here. We have, some of you are on it and some of you know about it, but for those who might not, we have a self-care task force. And one of the things that our task force has done is to start a Facebook page called Montessori Foundation Calm and Connected. And two of our colleagues on this call today have both very generously shared their time and their knowledge and their wonderful voice tone in creating videos. So John Wolf has a video that got posted today that's an affirmation. That's a lovely way to go into the weekend. I know I found it very calming just when I was posting it. And we started the week with a really lovely video from Kitty about the inner smile. And Kitty, I just want to say that that has helped me get through this week, because when I felt a little bit down, I've kind of heard your voice in that video talking about the inner smile. So thank you. I just wanted to thank the two of you and for the task force.
Thank you, Christine. And could you post the link to that Facebook group in the?
I will. I'll have to go fetch it from Facebook, but yes, I can do that.
And I'd like to post it in all of the teachers' Facebook pages so they know that they can go there, and let's let people know it's available.
Yeah.
We also had our first, we're holding different gatherings. John, you can jump in too. We're holding various gatherings that we have on Monday afternoon. We had our first one this past week for school leaders to just come together to share in an activity together, to share in a discussion about just how we're doing. And again, John did a wonderful closing with that. It was a very calming affirmation. We're going to have another one specifically for educators on the 27th. So that notice will be put up on the urgent news and announcements. But that's just.
Do you have a time for that? Because I'm
5 to 5:45 Eastern.
Okay.
Monday
because we're
27th.
scheduling our next round of teacher support meetings for next week, and I want to make sure we don't conflict.
Thank you.
Check the calendar, Kitty, because I think everything is updated. That might not, I think it is on there. I think the 27th is on there now. So the calendar link that has all of our public meetings, you know, that way we're not scheduling on top of each other, because we have 7 different task forces working diligently and scheduling things. And so it's one way we can kind of keep it straight. Yeah. So thanks for that, Christine. I think that when we think about the amount of stress that we're under, and some of us just keep going, right? We just keep doing it, and we get tired and we get stressed, and we don't stop and think about it because there's so many decisions to make right now, and there's so many pressures and so many unknowns. And what we know is that we don't make the best decisions when we're highly stressed or overtired. And so taking the time to allow for that prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part to start working means we have to step back sometimes. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take a break. We have to not be thinking all the time. And, during times like this, it's very difficult to think you can take a few moments, but it's the most essential time that we do that. So if anybody has any particular practices that work that you'd like to share, that's another thing too. I personally found that although I have some pretty good habits in place, meditation and taking a walk and certain things that are very part of my routine, my everyday, I'm finding that because the stress and the pressure is more than in my typical weeks prior to this, even though I worked a lot, it's different now, that it's just not enough, that I'm finding I am more irritable than I would normally be, or I'm more reactionary. And so I understand that I have to even do more, which seems so counterintuitive, to take more time away from the work in order to be more effective at the work and to be better at making decisions.
So Kathy, that's a really beautiful intro to one of the chat questions that is more interested in what people and teachers are doing to provide routines for students and what kind of interactivity they are providing. And I would love to talk a little bit about that because I'm proud to say that the lab school did not miss a beat. We were told we were going to not be able to go to physical premises during spring break, and on the Monday morning that we were supposed to be back at school, every single one of our environments and classrooms was back to school with some level of connectivity, including the 18-month-old children. And what we decided were first three things. That we as a faculty decided that care of ourselves, our individual selves, was the most important. And that when we looked at children's routines and students' interactivity, what could we do to provide them with the tools, practical life skills to take care of themselves during this time. The second thing we decided was that connection mattered, that talking about who we were and what we were with the family, whether we were talking directly to our high school students or we were talking to the 2-year-old, mattered. And so having those two things guide our decisions, our toddler teacher opened up a work cycle and wrote a letter to parents telling them that she was going to keep the routine as close to what they were doing as possible. So she opened up Zoom and she welcomed the children in the door as they came on, and she instructed them to please put your backpacks where you put them and feel free to take off your little shoes. And she just created an environment as warm as she could on Zoom. And we actually have been given footage of children reacting to her and reacting to each other. Our elementary program did the same things. They decided to call their activities adventures, and they are going on the model of a national day. So each day, if you don't know this, but every day is a national recognition day. So it might be National Unicorn Day or National Red Hair Day or whatever it is, National Hummingbird Day, and they focus their adventures around that level of activity to bring some engagement. They also are doing yoga online, and they've expanded to include any family member. So our elementary program actually has grandparents who don't live in the same state with their grandchildren doing yoga at a specific time each day with their grandchildren in class. So those are the kinds of out of the box thinking we decided to do based on those two premises, self-care and connection with each other.
And routine, Tanya, and I think it's really important to not just the routine of a typical day, which I think we all know that we need to help parents with that, and we'll talk a little bit about the routine of the day, but also the routine of things like poetry night, the routine of things like community meetings, things that are considered to be, you know, maybe traditions and rituals in a school, that we are finding more and more the schools that are continuing to engage in those things are the schools that are having parents really stay connected and attached and believing that they really can't imagine life without their school community, not just their school building. And so I really acknowledge that, you know, certainly the lab school has done that, but we've seen other schools, the schools that do that. One of our colleagues, Andrew Cutt, has an assembly, a community meeting every Friday morning at 9 a.m. He has kept that consistent. The students show up, the parents show up. He sings some songs, which if you haven't heard Andrew sing, it's quite a treat. The community sings along. They do their birthday celebrations. So that the things that remind us why we chose that school, things that remind us what's most important are the people. When we continue to do that, it's like the security, it's the anchor that keeps us going every single day, in spite of the unknown, right? These are things we know for sure we can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Kathy, I think you bring up something really important, and I know we've all talked about it, is that we've actually seen an increase in community participation.
Mm-hmm. People need it more now than ever.
No, I believe she froze up.
Oh, she'll be back.
Yeah.
That happens occasionally because everyone on the planet who has internet is currently on the internet. I keep
Yes.
saying that.
That's about the truth. Now, I think, you know, this idea of this being the home, we won't call it homeschooling. It's like, what do we even call this thing that we're doing? It's not really online or distance education, you know, and it's
crisis
really
schooling.
Crisis schooling, crisis learning, you know, and I think if we keep in mind, it's much more about the connectivity, that opportunity to stay connected, to support each other, to support our children, to have fun with our kids. It's a real opportunity to let the best of what we offer in Montessori, opportunities for learning to be fun, and children, to support children in exploration. It's a great opportunity for that. Then the other thing I think that's so important is connecting not just with the children, but with the parents, and particularly of the younger children. As we've gone through this process, one of the things that became clear to me is we as educators, Montessori educators, we spend so much time and energy on our prepared environments, and it's hard for our teachers to let go of not having that environment and to recognize that their job now is to support, or part of their job is to support the families in having more successful, calm, functional home environments. And we can only do so much, but whatever we can do to help our families, help our children to be independent and have a good experience at home. You know, as somebody said, when this is long, you know, done, children are going to look back at this time and hopefully what they're going to remember is the fun they had with their families, how connected they were, the special time that it was, and not worry, look back at it as such a worrisome, tragic time. Hopefully that'll be the perception of the children, the joy that they had in being at home with their family.
Tim?
I echo that. I completely agree that the thing that we as a Montessori professional community seem to be doing is really supporting parents and children in going through a truly challenging, frightening time in a way that many of our children are not acting out outrageously. Parents are definitely starting to get edgy, as are we. Many Montessori teachers around the world are reporting a feeling of working harder than ever and being exhausted. But we're definitely making a huge contribution to this crisis. In a way, I'm surprised that more national media hasn't picked it up. Many children who are in conventional schools, whether it's my grandchildren who are at Princeton Day School, which is not Princeton Montessori, and are basically getting piles of homework, high quality, but they're really feeling like they're more stressed than ever, to watching our own high school, our Montessori high school today, where a couple of the kids began a conversation about, we're feeling stressed. We wonder if we can just tone it down a bit and moderate it out. We're doing a lot to give kids a feeling that their voices matter, that the people that care about them really are there for them. One thing that I've been hearing from teachers is we're going through these gyrations. As one of us asked, how do we make this transition to virtual schooling? And this is going to all end and it's going to be over. And my gut instinct is you'll probably be using what you're learning now and what you'll continue to learn for a long time. Not because we won't ever get to go back to school, but it is likely that there'll be other situations, whether it's a tornado or a flood or whatever, where we have a need to create virtual community and virtual support and learning again. So we are learning skills that I think are going to prove to be long-term practical life.
Well, Tim, I've thought for a long time, since I am for the last 12 years, have been so engaged in online learning through the Center for Guided Montessori Studies. I've been thinking for a long time that the way to reach our parents who are digital natives is not by holding a lot of at-school meetings and parent education opportunities, but to hold a lot of opportunities through all the different media that is now being used, podcasts, Facebook pages, little videos, and virtual community meetings. And I think that's something that, as we learn this and become comfortable with it, should continue. It's probably the best way we can continue to support our families and build community and better knowledge of Montessori and good care of children.
I totally agree, Kitty. I think that maybe we all needed a little push in a different direction. And so some of these things will be long-lasting changes that we will have learned how to be in community in a different way for a different generation. And so I think keeping an open mind to the possibilities is really important. Keeping an open mind to what are potentially the silver linings in this are part of taking care of ourselves too. Because if we only think about the possibility of the negative sides of this, we can't really pull ourselves out of this in a meaningful way. John, can you speak a little bit to when we were talking about community meetings or parent gatherings and things, and you really set the tone for Newgate School, the lab school, with the way that you opened the meetings, both having to do with Montessori moments and gratitude, and it sets a tone that is uniquely different than some other meetings that we have.
Yeah, and it's really based on the whole science of positive psychology, and especially at this time when things are so unknown, so uncertain, so unsettled. So at the Newgate School, the lab school for the Montessori Foundation, the associate head of school, Tanya Reiskin, who is here, myself, we open the meeting and we start by inviting people to share Montessori moments. Montessori moment can be defined as three different aspects. It can be something that we've seen adults or children do that was just wonderfully delightful and funny at this time or before this time, before this period. Something that we have seen a child or an adult do that really touched the heart, that just was like beautifully empathic, or something we saw a student or a parent or teacher do that was insightful, like, wow, can you imagine a human being doing that? And we've gotten incredible stories, and what it does, it sets the tone for let's build on our strengths, let's build on our core values, let's build on our Montessori philosophy. Otherwise, there is such a tendency to get sucked into, the wormhole of the stress of the moment. And what's really lovely about the community meetings at the Newgate School is after we start with these positive sharings, there is certainly time for people to talk about their stressors and struggles. We're not being Pollyanna or in denial, but we start with the base of let's celebrate the best of Newgate and then move on and use that positive energy to help people solve problems. And it's really effective, and it builds incredible community. And what Tanya and Tim and I have been seeing at these community meetings, we kind of expected to see at times some parents especially start to complain about something. You're not giving me what I paid for, or do I have to pay tuition? We have hardly seen any of that. The tone of the meeting has been so positive, and the feedback has been, we look forward to these meetings because they build our sense of community. They take us away from the isolation we're feeling. So I would encourage you to start with the positives.
Yeah, one person said this is the highlight of her week.
Yeah.
And, and I look forward to those meetings as well. So as all the meetings that we're in, and we're all in a lot of meetings, you start really connecting with people in a different way, because we really are, this isn't just us delivering content. So we may be used to consulting, coaching, teaching courses, doing these kinds of accrediting schools, doing these kinds of things. This isn't about us being the experts in anything. This is about each of us coming with a certain amount of humility and saying, we're all trying to figure this out. And what I think we've done exceptionally well with the foundation and IMC and CGMS and all the organizations that we've worked with is we've created a platform. We've created opportunity for people to share ideas and share resources and realize and remember that we're part of this big Montessori community, and that we really do have a shared vision and shared values. And when you have that, you really have community. But we just gave the platform, and people started showing up. And we have right now over 200 volunteers who are helping each other, helping other schools, and helping in many task forces. And it's just so heartwarming to see.
Kathy, in the spirit of that, a lot of people have referred to the silver lining of this in this conversation. Kitty referred to the silver lining of what we're learning about parent education. We're talking about the silver lining of children looking back on this time as like, wow, this was a wonderful time with my family. The other silver lining that I'm and many of us are beginning to see is some of the political boundaries in Montessori that normally happen in Montessori. We're come from this society, and we're this group, and we're this training center. People are dropping those to support each other. It's becoming trans society, which is a wonderful trend in Montessori. And I think Dr. Montessori would be proud of us, because it's the very essence of peace education. It's not about where you were trained. It's about children and families and supporting teachers. So I think that dropping of some of the politicization, I can't pronounce it, of Montessori is also a really healthy silver lining that we're beginning to see. And I hope it continues.
I think it will, because I think it's based on relationships of person to person, not organizational, masks or umbrellas. Tim, I know you wanted to say something. I stepped in. Go ahead.
Well, no. I know that all of you, whether you're a parent, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a school administrator, it's reasonable to assume that there's a certain amount of either negativity that you're encountering or grief or anxiety or something. We're getting parents that complain to teachers or complain to school heads, and you're sort of the opposite of what we're just singing kumbaya about. I would recommend don't be surprised. With babies comes a need to change diapers. This process of building relationships is not perfect. We're all in a period of real uncertainty. We're trying to figure out, who's going to be back next year, who's been so damaged that they need to withdraw, who's been so damaged that they need to be done with all of us because they want a reset of their lives. But we're going to have a certain amount of that. But we also have to focus on, Lorna was saying at an earlier meeting today, do you know the story of focusing on the O's? And the idea is find the things that are good in your life, the things that are positive. Keep speaking to the child who doesn't yet present herself in front of you. Keep looking for the most positive things. Know that if you yourself are losing sleep or are feeling stressed, that you're in good company. I think most of us are, but there is more positive that's beginning to develop than not. And one of the lessons that I think is happening, it is a golden opportunity for all of us as parents, as teachers, and as school leaders, is to try to come out of this with a deeper understanding of what is it that makes schools tick? How are they constructed? What are they dependent on? Because many of us experience it either as a customer, I pay a bill, and in return they do this for me, or as a job, I go into my classroom, I do my thing, I try not to make any waves with the other teachers in the school, and I don't want them looking down their nose at me because I don't do it as well as they do. Or as head of school, we don't feel like anyone understands us or loves us because, other than greeting them at the parking lot, we're the person that collects the money often. But our schools are complicated organizations. This is a great opportunity for parents to begin to understand that it takes a lot to build a school. And there should be an appreciation, gratitude at these complex things that are school communities. And it really is based on relationships, one person to one person, one person to many.
I think it's even more than relationship. It's truly getting us to look at each other in a unique little window, no pun intended on Zoom, but look at our individual needs and tendencies. I shared something to our community about some statistics. One of the statistics is in the 4 weeks that we've been meeting through social distancing in this way, Zoom, I've had 100% faculty attendance. And a parent emailed me and said, why did you mention that? And I said, well, because between the months of November 1st and March 15th, I had at least one faculty member absent every week. And for a variety of different reasons. But I think this is a golden opportunity for parents to really understand, what do we need?
I think Tanya froze again.
Yeah.
Can't let her talk. She'll just freeze up.
Yeah.
It's in Michigan. It's cold.
It's cold up there. Yeah, and Leanne, for a second, I want to say that Leanne has put in the chat that some schools have used virtual online learning for weather days, snow days, or things like that. So that's an interesting outcome and use as well. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, I want to give Tanya and Newgate some kudos. They put out a wonderful kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, an email that's like, here's what we've accomplished so far. And it was so positive, talking about what they're doing across all levels. And I think it's so important to, put it right out there and let the parents know what you're doing, because they only see what they're experiencing. And while they may appreciate the toddler teachers on there every day, they may not really get the full scope of what that means. And I think another thing that is really important to remind parents, find some way to remind them, is that teachers are going through the same thing they're going through.
Mhm.
That, you know, teachers aren't just sitting in their homes with nothing else to do but write plans and schedule Zooms for their children. They have their own children, their own families, their grandparents and parents that may be elderly that need some attention or that they're worrying about. And, you know, so reminding everybody we're all in this together, and we should be grateful for each other. And then on the other side, really reminding teachers often to be really considerate of parents and generous with how we are perceiving parents' reactions and comments and what we see happening in their home. And, you know, that we're, you know, just today I saw someone post the great quote from Maya Angelou that, you know, and I can't remember how it goes exactly, somebody probably will, but, you know, until you know better, you know, you do what you do, and then when you know better, you do better. And that's where we all are. We're just doing whatever it is we know to do right now, and then, you know, we know a little more, we'll do a little bit better. And we've all got to be okay with saying, I'm okay with wherever we are right now.
Well, you know, Kitty, just to piggyback on that for a moment, one of the other things that we're seeing, not only in some of our internal task force meetings in this collaborative support thing that we're doing here out of the Montessori Foundation, the IMC, but actually schools are beginning, because we want, as Kitty said, we want to let people know we're interested in you as a whole person. We care for you as a teacher, we care for your family. It's not just about like, how do we get through this, or how do we do that, or how do we get this learning done? It's really paying attention to the whole person as we pay attention to the whole child. And so a number of meetings, perhaps after the Montessori moments, are opened up to, let's just do a check-in. How are people doing? Has anything occurred this week in your family or in some of your online classrooms that was a really wonderful thing that happened? Does anybody have a particular need that they would like to share for some support? So it's really called a check-in, because we want to know how people as whole people are doing, which is different than let's get on with the business. And the message again is, we care about you as a whole person. We care about your family. We care about you as a teacher person, not just your teaching.
Yeah, John, it's really important, and maybe we should just take a moment right now to think about what does everyone need and how are you doing, and how are things going? I know I have a brief Montessori moment that I would like to share that happened this week. And it's, I work mostly with adults now, and I have to tell you that it has sunk into me that I truly miss being in relationship with children. So it took me a while, because I retired from my school about, I guess it's been about 8 months ago now. And so I'm not with children every day. And that really, it's catching up with me over a period of time, but I get to hear wonderful stories. And and I work with a lot of teacher educators and adult learners as well as part of my role. And we have an infant toddler program through Center for Guided Montessori Studies. And one of my colleagues who's in a leadership role there, we have an adult learner who was pregnant and was getting very nervous. She was ready to deliver, and in the midst of Corona, she really was scared to death. It was her first child. She's fairly young, you know, mid-20s, and she was not in the place where she grew up. Just, you know, everything was foreign, unfamiliar, and she was scared to death. And Terry, my colleague, did some research on, well, my God, what do you do? Because she didn't even know how to help her or calm her down or anything. And so she did the research and went online and went to the you know, some of the websites that we're familiar with for best practice for labor and birth, and got some very current, relevant information, and walked her through the process of how she was going to deliver this baby. And part of that was to visualize. She wasn't allowed to have her husband with her. She wasn't allowed to have her mother with her. And, you know, Terry walked her through how do you do this? And you visualize that it's there, and you appreciate the new life you're bringing into this world. And she delivered that baby. And she said she did it with a smile on her face because she knew who she was surrounded by and that she was surrounded by love. And I just, those kinds of stories of how people come together and support each other, it was well above and beyond Terry's responsibilities in her job. This was, you know, yes, we have access because we're teacher educators. And so we have access to some resources that this young woman wouldn't have had. But she walked her through that. And there's a new baby born. And Terry will be a part of that family because she took her time, and she's crazy busy right now, just like the rest of us. And I just so appreciated that. And I know that all of you have stories like that, that Montessori community comes together. And I know it's a little kumbaya, but the fact is, this is what we hear every day. In the midst of crisis, people are coming together and they're helping each other and they're going above and beyond. And I just want to share that piece.
Well, did they name the baby Terry or
I don't
Corona?
know. I didn't ask.
Maybe Terry Corona.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a little girl, but yeah. So anyway, that just happened this week.
So I wonder what those few of you who are here, each, it's so interesting. We've gone from having meetings of 400, and today, right at the moment, there's 16 of us gathered here today. We know that it goes up and down. But what do you sense that you need the most that you think we might be able to help you with in the future? We've got, I assume you all know that we have cohorts that are working with groups of Montessori school leaders on developing their financial plans to sort of rethink what's going on financially and come up with budgets and plans for the future. We've got another task force that's working on contingencies, issues like what if social distancing continues over the summer and into the fall? What would that look like? And all sorts of variables. We've got support groups for parents. We're getting ready to launch a whole series of parenting education programs again, because parents are telling us, I'm losing my stuff with my kids. They're making me crazy, or my parenting partner is not on the same page. And we've got, of course, Kitty Bravo and her team have got the largest series of task forces that are working to support Montessori educators at each level. And then John Wolf and Christine Lowry and others are working on the program for self-care for us as Montessorians, whether we're parents or teachers or school leaders. Is there anything else you need?
$1 million?
Yeah.
I thought of that one.
Each one.
And I was thinking maybe a pizza delivered would be good.
Pizza?
Yeah.
I like that.
Leanne?
Well, I gave up drinking for Lent, so a glass of wine would be really good. I'm so glad that's over with. And we'll never do it again.
So we're thinking of a virtual cocktail party. Bring your.
Yeah, I'm there. You tell me what. No, I just wanted to say some words of appreciation for y'all jumping in right away. I think as a school leader, our community jumped in right away, you know, on that level. But to then have the extra support for me, and today was one of those days that I didn't care what y'all were talking about. I just needed to be around people that were positive because it's been a really rough day. So I just want to say thank you. You know, I've loved this organization since I became a part of it, but y'all have really stepped it up, and I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Leanne. We're happy you're part of our community. Our community is pretty broad, as you well know, but you're very close, and I know that you're enrolled in our new leadership program right now. So you've taken on an extra thing in the midst of all of this. You added something more, and so I'm sure that between running a school and taking on a credential program at this point, that's a lot on anybody's plate.
Well, and I have to say that has probably been much more beneficial through this, because we're doing that school leadership in real time.
Yeah.
We've spent the first cohort or first module having this real support system, and it's been great.
Yeah, we didn't really expect the first module to be on crisis management, but that's what it turned out.
It was baptism by fire, I tell you.
That's the truth. That is the truth. Oh,
You are an amazing group, and we're really pleased to see. One of the things the Montessori Foundation was created to do was to try to nurture and support the development of strong Montessori schools through the development of strong Montessori school leaders, just like we do Montessori classroom guides. And it's been happening. More and more avenues of the Montessori community are appreciating that without good, strong Montessori leaders and Montessori boards, the great Montessori teachers can't do it unless there's a superstructure that supports it all. And we're going through a storm right now. And so now we're getting a new level of advanced master class in how to survive really challenging times.
Yeah. And I do believe, as everybody has said, that we will take so much of what we're learning and develop it into longer term things that we can continue to help schools with. Lisa, thank you for your comments. Lisa says, I'd like to express my appreciation to each of you for the comprehensive support, insights, resources, and perspectives offered. They are inspiring, impactful, and grounding. Thank you. Can we use that somewhere? That's very, very kind of you. And we do appreciate hearing that. I will tell you that of all the task forces and all the volunteers that we're working with, we hear from every single person that this is helping them as much as we're helping other people. So we're being helped and our souls are being fed by this very much. So it is not in any way a selfless act. This is very mutual. I just feel so blessed that we have this opportunity and that I am learning so much from so many people. So Lisa adds, I should make you mugs or wine glasses.
with the quote on it, yeah.
We drink a lot of coffee, and later on, maybe for the wine. We can't start now, but maybe soon.
I'd like to express the gratitude of all of us at the Montessori Foundation. Like you, our resources just dried right up. So we started a campaign just a week or so ago, and I want to express my appreciation publicly. In less than 5 days, we've raised $93,000 out of the $500,000 goal. Yeah. And it's all been small gifts, large gifts from people like you all, and we just so appreciate it.
Yeah, very, very thankful for that, because as Tim said, yeah, we've changed we haven't changed our mission, but we've certainly changed the way that we are putting it out and expressing it. And so we have been happy and wonderful to do that. So yeah, thank you for that. Any other stories or thoughts or questions or needs? As we start, we're the meetings that we're offering and the services that we're offering and the outreach is very fluid. It's very much based on what we hear from you, either in emails or in these kinds of meetings. So we're very interested in what your questions are and what your needs are so that we can rally troops and resources and see what we can get for you. So we're happy to.
I just wanted to say that I've appreciated so much just the moral support and this larger community of that you guys have offered, that we have a place to go to connect with other people, and it's really helped me reframe what we're doing and then some really excellent professional advice, and it's really helped so much on my end. And I've been thinking a lot about the parents, so it was really great to hear that you're going to be rolling out a more robust parent offerings, because I was thinking about like what's missing in our Montessori education now that we're teaching online and the children aren't handling these beautiful materials, but there's the intangible prepared environment as well as the tangible and prepared environment that we don't know what the intangible environment's like at home, our whole, no rewards and punishment in environment, and the positive ways that we encourage children to work. And I don't know what's going on at home with some of the families. We've heard some disagree. Someone mentioned, I think, Tim, when you were talking about it, you mentioned that, like parents that disagree on how to manage children. We've already heard about that, and some of the families related to the home learning and stuff. And I've really, this week, that's what's been on my heart, is like what's happening at home, these wonderful projects our teachers are sending home, but if the spirit of it is being lost in the home setting, I have not known exactly how much to or what to do for that. And I appreciate knowing that there's a place to refer parents.
Norbert, good to see you as always. The Parent Support Task Force with Christine, myself, Lorna McGrath, and Margot Garfield and Tim, we're actually putting together a survey for parents right now, and also another survey for teachers to give their perceptions of what parents need. So that's going to start to inform some of the work we're doing relative to what parents are now experiencing.
Yeah. And I would say that, Kitty, I know we are working on this pedagogical principles for educators on how, we can't call it best practice, but better practice in the case of this sort of virtual schooling that we're doing. And what I'm looking at, we have a working document right now that's almost ready to go out. And what I'm looking at, I'm taking some of those principles and saying, how can the parent create an environment at home? And I don't mean recreate a Montessori classroom. I really don't mean that. And I don't want the parents to be their teacher, but I do want them to understand what those intangibles are. What's that invisible part? How do you support independence, autonomy, choice, curiosity, creativity? How do we create an environment that allows for that so the parents can go work? Because the children, we know, will be industrious, engaged, and occupy their time very well given a prepared environment in the home. So part of this will go out to the parents as well. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress. I think we're going as fast as we can, but we're all trying. Kitty?
Well, and I'm thinking that we could probably go ahead and release the first page of that, and where we're still working is each level contributing some specifics for their level, but we could go ahead and release the general guidelines that apply to everybody. But I was just going to say, and it dovetails what you were saying, and also what Navir was relating to, is when I was working on it, it really struck me in the process. I was writing about the choice and independence, and we were talking in it about the prepared environment now being the home environment, and it really struck me, and I was particularly thinking of the little children, the toddlers and the 3 to 6 year olds, how much they don't know how to express it, but how much they must be missing.
Yeah.
The experience of autonomy they have in an environment where everything is for them and designed for them to be able to take care of themselves. And they might get in trouble because every once in a while because they get a little mischievous, but for the most part, they're not getting in trouble because they're just there living and being. And in their homes, there's it's just not the same. No matter what you do, it's not the same, and it's not going to be the same. And it kind of hurt my heart just thinking about these children who must be missing this, and there's nothing we can do about it, and we can't even probably explain it to parents, because unless you've lived it with children, there's no way to even understand what it is they're missing.
Kitty, can I just real quickly share? I was on the phone for an hour and a half yesterday with one of the families that I work with. They have a 5.5-year-old who has Down syndrome, who has been in a Montessori program since she was a toddler. And now she's at home, and she has started acting out pretty seriously. And when I was talking with the mother, and they have an au pair in the home as well, the contrast between what was happening for this child in her Montessori classroom and now what's happening primarily with the interactions with the au pair was like different universes. And so I was glad that I was able to really help talk through to the point where they were receptive to hearing, well, let's look at the routines within the routines, and let's look at making sure she has time outside, and let's give her choice.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you're so right. It's heartbreaking. In some ways it's heartbreaking, and in some ways, again, it's where's the silver lining there?
Yeah.
And what you're doing, it sounds like, is very definitely a silver lining. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we can help parents begin to understand a little bit and make improvements in creating opportunities for independence, it can make all the difference in the world for children and for the parents.
And keeping routine and order and those kinds of things. So even if the parents' schedules are a little bit sporadic, you can find ways to have some sense of order and routine in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the things parents are grasping at. You know, they don't know. They always look at the Montessori classroom. They think, how do they do that? How do they get it? It's not magic. You know, it's a formula. If you put some of these pieces in place, the children will take over. They really will. So a lot of it is getting adults out of their way.
Yeah.
Let me offer one last thought. I'm talking to a lot of teachers, a lot of school administrators who are dealing with all kinds of issues about one parent loves something, another parent thinks it's not working. One parent really likes something at one time of the day and another wants it at a different time of day. And some kids are thriving and some kids are not. And as we go forward, as we're learning how to do better, as Kitty said, remember that each child is, as we say, a universe of one. And it doesn't mean we can necessarily juggle so many balls. We have a completely different program for everybody. Can't always make everyone happy. But it is important as we think about things to really ask people, you know, what do you think works? Be open to the possibility of running one thing at one time, one thing at another time, or having choice, different options, because you're going to see different kids and different parents responding to different things.
Yeah, choice for the parents as well as for the children, right? Hey, we don't like it when we feel trapped and we don't have choices. That's human nature. So I agree, Tim. Thank you for that.
It is very different in the home situations. There's so much diversity in the home situations, but the children themselves, like a self-directed Montessori child is having a very different experience right now than an ADD child that is, you know, at home with two parents who are also trying to work at home.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim's right. It's, you know, everybody's got a very unique situation.
Yeah.
But to Tim's point, I think it's so easy to forget. I know I forget this as a teacher educator and as a leadership educator. It's not only about information that we give, it's just about listening to parents. Sometimes when we simply listen to parents as they describe their challenges, their story, they calm down enough because they're being listened to by a caring teacher and they start to solve their own problem. So much of it is about listening to parents and having them get that sense that the teacher or other parents on this Zoom call, they're here for me, and they're here to witness what I'm going through. And that is, again, as Tanya was saying, that connection precedes curriculum or precedes content. It's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that people are noticing that there's chats going on. It looks like some of it's going out privately. We've had a couple of folks say, where do we find resources? And I see Kitty sent her response about some of the resources that are out there. We just want to make sure you know that if you're ever searching and you can't find it, one, take a look at Facebook. There's the open Facebook for the Montessori Foundation, which is where the primary thing is happening. Then in our groups within that are associated with the Facebook page, you'll find a number of groups for school administrators and something we call the Montessori Foundation Conversation, and then groups for each different age level, and then the group that Christine and John and others put together, that's the Montessori Calm and Collected. If in doubt, if you're searching for something, don't hesitate to send an email to any of us or send it to info@montessori.org. ORG, remember, is us. And I see Kitty has just shared a great resource. If you double click on that, you can download it to your computer. That's really great, Kitty. Also, the chat that has been going on here, and I realize some of you may have joined late and you may not be seeing the whole chat. Not that today has been as rigorous as ever, but I typically save the recording of these things and I send it along with whatever the entire chat was to those people who registered for these meetings. So just, if in doubt, send us an email, timselden@montessori.org, Kathy Leach at montessori.org, or just take a look at our website, and probably what you want is there somewhere.
Yeah, and the website that Kitty also put up is the collaborative resource site. So we do have people, slow but sure, harvesting and curating, not just putting lots of junk in there, but hopefully thoughtfully putting things that we think will be most relevant and updated into that site. So Kitty has put that link there as well. So thank you, Kitty. Thank you, everyone, for coming today, for getting through another week, and for being willing to be open-minded and positive and look for our silver linings. We have a new week to come. Let's see, we have some parent things scheduled for this week. We have a self-care, as Christine said, for the following Monday on the 27th. So if you're not on our email list, it's very easy to get on the email list, either through the link that Tim put in the chat or going directly to our website. You can sign up for that. And also you can go to montessori.org on the urgent news. There's a whole list of things that we have coming up and links to the Facebook pages, things like that, and also a calendar. At the calendar, you can click on any of the events and add it right to your calendar. So makes it really easy. Then the link is there in your calendar. And again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible so that you don't have to be any more stressed about which meetings to go to. I want to add to that stress.
And don't feel like you have to go to any meetings that aren't convenient. That's the last of your worries.
Last of your worries, but we're happy to have you and we love to see you. So thanks for coming. And again, let us know, as Tim said, email us if you're looking for something in particular, or if there's a subject that you would like for us to address. We really are taking and responding to the needs that you're expressing to us. So just let us know. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Stay happy, stay healthy.
Yes, indeed.
Tim, I wanted to talk with Christine and John for a minute. Can
Sure.
we stay on the site?
I'll just stop the recording, I assume.
Okay.
Yes.